So, what if you could train just a small group of students to kickstart this wave of mental health support that spreads across their entire campus? It's a really powerful idea, right? That was the whole concept behind this fascinating study. But what happens when that ripple just stops? Okay, let's get into it.
This is the big question, isn't it? The one that researchers really wanted to sink their teeth into. We all know that students usually turn to their friends first when they're struggling. So the thinking was, could a formal training program turn that informal network into a really powerful, maybe even life-saving force?
And the reason this is so important, is that even with all the programs we have on college campuses, there are still some major gaps in the mental health safety net.
Now, when you dig into the specifics, it gets really eye-opening. A lot of these gatekeeper programs, they tend to focus only on suicide, but they miss the depression that so often comes before it. And crucially, they're almost never culturally tailored. They're not designed for specific groups like African American students. But here's the kicker. There's very little proof that they actually change behavior. Sure, you can teach someone facts, but do they actually do anything differently? That's the real test.
So to try and fill all these gaps, researchers came up with a really innovative new plan, something totally different, online, culturally specific, and built from the ground up on this idea of students helping other students.
They called it the SPAD program. The goal here was to create something that was super accessible, totally relevant, and that could be spread by the students themselves. It was really designed from the get-go to connect with the unique culture and needs of African American college students.
And here's how they plan to do it, which is actually pretty clever. It's a classic train-the-trainer model. First, the researchers directly trained a core group of 29 student leaders, online. Then, those new peer educators, as they were called, were supposed to fan out across campus and train hundreds of their classmates. That's how they were going to create that ripple effect.
So phase 1, training that first group of 29 students. How'd it go? Well, honestly, the results looked fantastic, incredibly promising.
I mean, just look at these numbers. After taking the online course, these peer educators showed huge improvements, and not just small ones, but statistically significant ones. Their attitudes, their confidence in their skills, even their intention to actually go out and help, everything went up. So step 1, a total success. Okay, so let's pause for a second. We have a training program that we know works, and we have a group of newly trained, effective peer educators ready to go. This whole ripple effect thing should be a massive success, right? Well, this is where the story takes a really unexpected turn. Because in the second phase of the study, they looked at the impact on the 300 students who were trained by those new peer educators. And the results were the complete opposite.
Wow. I mean, the data here is it's stark. For the students in this second group, the ones taught by their friends, the vast majority scored as unsatisfactory. They just didn't meet the basic goals of the program. We're talking almost 80% on knowledge, over 2/3 on skills and behavior. The training it didn't transfer. That ripple faded out almost as soon as it started.
This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got the exact same curriculum. With one group, it's a home run. With the next, it completely falls flat. What on earth could explain such a huge difference? But here's the thing about science. An unexpected result isn't a failure. It's just more data. And this surprising outcome gives us a critical lesson about how these kinds of programs actually work out in the real world. And the researchers themselves pointed to the most likely reason right in their paper. See, when the peer educators went out to train other people, that whole process wasn't really structured or monitored. The delivery of the information was just left up to these new trainees with no real guidelines or oversight from the researchers. So this brings us to the real takeaways here. First, we learned that a well-designed online program absolutely can get a core group of peer leaders ready and equipped. That part worked. But, and this is the big one, you can't just wind them up and let them go. Success doesn't automatically transfer. The lesson is huge. The content of the training isn't enough. The method of how it's delivered is just as critical. So, the legacy of this study is really two-sided. On one hand, it's a success story. It proved a culturally specific online program can work for that initial group. But on the other hand, it's an invaluable lesson. It shows that for the ripple effect to actually, ripple, those second and third waves of training need structure. They need support, and they need some kind of monitoring.
So in the end, this whole experiment points to a really vital truth. It's not enough to just give people good information. You also have to give them the tools to be good teachers. And that lesson, that might be the key to making the next ripple strong enough to finally cross the entire campus.